fanfiction or just some storylines we want to see end at some point because we're tired of talking about them. That seems like a theme of some of our things, some of our answer for this. But I am joined, as always, not always as always, but kind of as always, my guy, Matt Harmon. How you doing today, Matt? Feels like I just saw you about 6 hours ago.
Yeah, which is truly troubling that it was only 6 hours ago that we saw each other. But yeah, no, it's good, man. It's been a good week. I've talked to just so many people, like way more than normal. I need a full day of silence. That's kind of what I need. Silence from myself. Tired of hearing the sound of my own voice, that is for sure. But very excited to do the show with you. That's for sure.
I know. It feels like every time I do shows, I'm like, I need to carry mints around. It's like because I'm just talking way too much and way too long every single day. But no, we're going to be talking even more today about some off-season moves we want to see, but also some news items as well as some stuff goes around the NFL because it never ever stops in the NFL. First off, we had, well, I don't want to step on your toes, but we had a trade. And this was an interesting trade because it was a player-for-player trade between the Jets and the Titans. And they traded Jermaine Johnson for T'Vondre Sweat, just like we all expected. You know, those are two hot names in the trade market hitting it.
Headliner.
Yes. Jermaine Johnson, I believe his contract is coming up. He is, or next year, final year's contract. Edge player, has had injuries, but has been on the field, been a nice, solid, good player. T'Vondre Sweat had a real nice rookie year. He had questions actually when he was at the Combine his year about his weight, about off-field stuff. It was more just kind of commitment to the game. Kind of saw a little bit more of that the second year.
Yeah.
Little trade here as the Jets try to find a Quinnen Williams, I guess, replacement. Just another young stab at a guy, young dart throw. They did it with A.D. Mitchell. Now they're doing it here with Sweat. And then now Jermaine Johnson is reuniting with Robert Saleh in Tennessee as an edge. But what did you think about this?
Makes sense. Tennessee definitely needs more edge presence, that's for sure. Gives them some flexibility at the fourth overall pick to say, hey, like, we got a young guy in the building here. We don't have to pigeonhole ourselves into an edge rusher at this standpoint. That's kind of what some of these moves are at this stage, is being able to give yourself optimal flexibility if you're one of these teams that like Tennessee that has a lot of needs. So that's the thing here is I think that's the biggest takeaway. But, yeah, it's a nice stab on a guy who's obviously played for Robert Saleh before, should, fit the system, the whole deal there. But that's a Sweat part of this going back to New York is interesting because, you're right. He had a really nice rookie year.
He did.
Really nice rookie year. And then just, what went well in Tennessee last year? Nothing, essentially. So maybe you can write it off to that, but you're not really quite sure what you're getting if you're the Jets, and that's an entire team right now that I'm not quite sure what we're getting.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's like, okay, he needs to go to a place that can really, like, maybe some vets and be around him, maybe not a team that's been losing a bunch. So he goes to Tennessee, and it's like, okay, well, maybe he finds a new – and he goes to the Jets, and it's like, oh, man.
Going from a team that's picking fourth to second.
Yes. And, Sweat he's so talented. He's huge. He's got light feet. Just watch his interception he had his rookie year, I believe, against the Bengals. And you get to see he's throwing a stiff arm out there. Like, he has talent, like true Pro Bowl talent. It's just that you can't rely on him. And that's going to kind of hang over his head until he proves otherwise. So I do think that I think it's for the Jets, it's just they need to do this stuff. Like, all right, if we're not signing Johnson, we don't want to fully commit to him, new regime, all that stuff. We didn't draft him. All right, might as well get someone that's going to kind of like reset the contract years, maybe get a spot that's like, all right, we don't have anybody there anyways, so maybe drop in a player that maybe we get more out of, just like they did with Mitchell. Just like Mitchell had some nice moments once he joined the Jets after the Colts traded him, and that Sauce Gardner trade is like kind of a throw-in. So,
first trade of the offseason.
Yeah.
It's not a big banger, but, just – you probably said the word maybe, I would say 5 times within 15 seconds there. And, like, that's the NFL offseason. It's a lot of, well, maybe this, maybe that.
This.
And I had a whole conversation with Justin Boone today on the fantasy show, and it was just, we were talking about quarterbacks and everything. It's just a lot of stretch jobs and a lot of selling it, you know, and like, okay, we'll see, how this all goes. But that's what this offseason really does feel like. It's a lot of teams trying to sell you something, trying to do the maybe thing, and it's that time of year, man.
It's Ben Johnson saying Tyson Bagent is one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah.
Like, and it's one of those where I did a Bear show the other day, and it was just like, okay, we were talking about it, and they're like, he really likes him. It's like, oh, no, really? No kidding. Like, I actually could see that pretty easily even as an outsider. And
what I said to you last night, we had dinner. Great time, by the way.
It was very
great
nice
dinner together last night, and I said, like, I can already see the headline now in the 2030s. Ben Johnson gives up play calling duties to offensive coordinator Tyson Bagent. Like, that guy is 100% going to be on his coaching staff.
Yes.
Whenever he's done playing, he'll be on the Davis Webb, the Sean Mannion, the David Blau timeline. He'll be like a 30-year-old offensive coordinator. So, yeah, I mean, he clearly likes him a lot. We'll see if another team likes him enough to make him like a full 17-game starter or whatever.
I didn't even we talked about it, and I do like him. He had pretty good preseason film. I also double-checked it, just like, was I kind of misremembering things? I was like, no, okay.
It's always
I can stand by those takes.
You say it and then you double-check.
I was like, okay, I'm going to stand by these takes. We're good. But they kind of approach the idea of Ian Cunningham going to the Falcons now. Is that like a sneaky Falcons one? Yeah, but the Falcons have no picks. So it's like, all right, it might be a 2027 draft.
They don't
but
like
that was one that was like, okay, that's somewhat of one I didn't even think of with Cunningham going there. But it was like, and they have quarterback questions with Penix and everything. And, and then Cousins is on the way out. So I actually kind of was like, all right, I'm marinating on that one. But we're going to talk about some other trades because another quarterback has been kind of officially put on the trade block, I guess is the best way, when there's been plenty of smoke and the team really has indicated that they're over this guy. I don't know if it was pre- or post-orbital bone or whatever it was, but Anthony Richardson, Colts quarterback, is more or less officially on the trade block. He's been from the Colts. He has the freedom to seek a trade. It's kind of like, all right, let's get this officially going. But Richardson is your first offseason hope, I believe.
Yes, I've got the landing spot for him, and it's not one that you guys think here. Yes, by the way, I love the headline from Stephen Holder, the report's like, Anthony Richardson has regained vision in his right eye. I'm like, that's a good first step. Good first step to rehabilitating your career as a quarterback, being able to see out of both of those eyeballs. That's a good first step. So with Richardson, I think he should be traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know everybody's going to send him to Minnesota, right? Obviously that's the one. There's the clip of him and KOC, loving each other up in the middle of the field during the game a couple years ago. But to me, I think, one, Richardson can go somewhere here where it can rehab his value. I think he's a guy that clearly needs to grow. And you get better by playing, sure, but I think he could also take a beat. And there's also a chance here that he plays for the first month of the season. It's a good ecosystem to get dropped into. Obviously, we have our questions about Kansas City and just the structure of the offense,
so much,
the personnel around. I do, but they're in a good position, I think, to address some of those concerns. Will they? Obviously, it's a different question. They definitely need to do it. But, again, for Richardson to come in there, get in sort of the Andy Reid teaching zone there, Eric Bieniemy, it's a guy that he can push him. I think, like I said, I'm obviously skeptical of just a lot of what's going on Kansas City Chiefs offense-wise. But still, they might need a guy to start the first month of the season.
Actually, that was a fun one. I didn't even think about that one. That's kind of a perfect way to, like you said, rebuild his value. He can play those first month or two, whenever Mahomes comes back, X date. And like you said, it's just like an interesting flyer on it as well. I didn't even think about that one.
They need to improve their run game too, and that can be like a way to start.
Don't you worry.
That's like a thing they can start to do. Mix in sort of him as a running quarterback, get their rushing efficiency going. If again this hypothetical world where he's starting the first month of the season, and like I said, then he rehabs his value, and then you can trade him in the next offseason or whatever. What do you think what is Anthony Richardson's trade value right now?
I've been looking at what Trey Lance went for, which was a fourth. Yeah. That's kind of where I kind of view that. And even guys like Pickett, I always bring him up because it's just. But he went
Kenny
for
Pickett comes up quite often,
quite a bit because I never see why you get so many transactions. But he went for a fifth or a sixth or something of that sort. So I think a fourth would end up being his value. Maybe eke out a third if a lot of teams are interested. But I think it's a fourth. The Vikings is the team that comes to mind for me because it's just like I think KOC is fond of Richardson a little bit, even outside of the hug and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that everyone memes. Richardson's 23, man. He turns 24 in May.
The thing with Minnesota is it feels a little too samey with
hat on a hat.
with JJ McCarthy. It's a guy that struggled to stay on the field. He hasn't taken a lot of reps. There's a lot of that already with McCarthy.
They're literally the same metrics too, about inaccuracy and all that.
Bad.
Type of stuff. Not in a good way.
Not in a good way. So it feels like Minnesota probably wants to go for more of either just a clear-cut solution or a veteran to be hey, we're just competing, a Geno Smith type, right? We're competing with JJ McCarthy, but then that guy wins the job and he starts all 17 games. Richardson would be just all right, it's a messy sort of two guys enter, one man leaves sort of quarterback battle.
No, that's kind of been my drawback with that is that just they have the same exact question marks. They have same stuff about accuracy, stuff pushing outside, how much they understand the offense, those types of things. But at least Richardson has traits. That's okay. That's one nice part about it. I know all these quarterback landing spots. I mean, we did a whole show on it. Even Kyler is he's for sure gone from Arizona. I do think there's talent in Kyler, but you can tell the league is just so down on him.
I know.
And so, like, that's where does he end up? I'm like, to me, it's the Jets. A bit like, I know, but it's just
Woof.
like, I know. I'm so curious how these guys all, and then, of course, Tanner McKee, who I always bring up, but Spencer Rattler, all these guys are interesting because it's like I might like them, but it's like, which teams like them?
Yeah.
And do they like them at a
How
certain
much?
value?
Yeah.
Exactly.
How much do they like?
And they have to have a plan for it all. So, again, Richardson's 24 in May. He's younger than a handful of young quarterbacks that are like have come in the league after him. So it's just one of these things where I've kind of put it as I said I had a garden on Anthony Richardson Island. It might just be one little stem. It might be one little
you have
rock.
a flower pot.
I have a pebble in the flower pot. That you just like to add to the landscape. That's all I have right now. But I still have it. But all right, we'll move on to my first one of things I want to see happen this offseason. I'm really obsessed with the Jags because I think the Jags can make a push.
When has this ever gone wrong for you before?
No, I know, because we are the National Jags pod. And every kind of like if they nail this offseason, and I talked about this with Mina Kimes, is that they could make a push, like a real push. I know they won double-digit games, division, all that stuff, but they can make a real push to the Super Bowl. They could have done it this year if things broke right for them. Obviously, losing to the Bills is not one of those things that broke right for them, but they could have made a run because this AFC is so wide open. I just look at all these teams. There's so many questions. Feeling better about the Ravens and making a push again as kind of like these stalwarts of the conference.
Yeah.
But the Bills have a lot of question marks. They'll still be pretty good because of Josh Allen. Chiefs have a lot of question marks. They'll still have talent. They still have Mahomes, but he might not come back till October like we just talked about. So it just, again, feels wide open. So my offseason want is that they sign one of these Bills offensive line free agents, Connor McGovern and or David Edwards. Now, Jags don't have a ton of cap space.
No.
But that hasn't really precluded a lot of teams from, finding some funny money in there.
Of course, yeah.
But I think that they sign one of these guys, and it would probably be a guard. It would probably be Edwards, because they already have Robert Hainsey in there, the guy they brought from the Bucs. So there's some familiarity.
They like him, yeah.
If they upgrade the interior of their offensive line and they upgrade the interior of their defensive line, they can make a real push next year and just shore that up. I think they're well schemed on both sides of the ball, but that could also fall apart once it becomes a stars battle, a blue chip battle, as Charles always likes to say. So boosting up that interior of the offensive line and getting a real vet, like a real vet with some pedigree, like that, I think is the move they have to make. They kind of live in the margins. Like they kind of try and do little moves, to add them up, red paperclip trades. I kind of want to call it, but it's just one of these things where I don't know if they hit one of these guys. And I think these two guys are more sure things than some of the other guys, or Isaac Sumalo from the Steelers.
Yeah.
But just, man, I think if they nail and just add a little injection of talent, even outside the draft, they have all these day 2 picks, and to get a vet, and it's offensive lineman that's a legit starter, not just like fine. These guys are actually kind of small needle movers. I think it would just help them out so much. Yeah,
it feels like it's a meat and potatoes offseason for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Last year, obviously, the big move is trade up for Travis Hunter. Probably going to play a lot more corner this year, as we've talked about. This is funny. This is now the NFL's way of, news breaks 3 times. It's December, it's like, oh, this is going to happen. Yeah. January, the team says it. February, like Kirk Cousins. It's
yes. Oh my God, how many times has he been released?
He's been released every month. Every month. December, they
it came up again. I was like, did I overstep my hand talking about him being released? It's just I feel like it's been said for months now.
It's literally broken once a month.
Yeah.
In December, it's they readjust his contract so that they could release him at the start of the new league year. And then January, it's Falcons going to release Kirk Cousins. And then the first thing this week is Falcons are going to release. We know, dog. We know.
Okay.
We
they
got
say the date every time, and I'm just when free agency starts, March 11th, they're going to do. I'm like, okay, that's what I thought, right? Nothing changed, right?
And the Travis Hunter going to play more corner than wide receiver this upcoming year. That's happened 3 times. The GM said it in January, and then Cam Wolf, who's great, did a whole segment on NFL Network about it, and it was became another news cycle. I'm like, yeah. We know.
We did the cycle.
We're
doing it again.
What a great sport. Anyways, so that was the big move last year. Obviously, not going to do something like that this year. It feels like offensive linemen. I've heard from a lot of people that they're really interested in tight ends this offseason.
Okay.
Jacksonville. So again, I think part of that is pass catchers, sure, but maybe guys to do more 12 personnel, get into some of those heavier personnel packages. They were pretty 3-receiver heavy last year. Yeah. Obviously, they've made, as we've talked about all the time, they've made a lot of investments in that receiver position. So that will make it interesting in terms of how often those guys are going to be on the field. But I think they see it the same way you do. I think they want to get more physical.
Yeah.
They want to really beef up that rushing attack. And Liam Cohen's one year as the play caller with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they were much more of like a gap-heavy rushing game than what they were last year under with the current staff and everybody in Jacksonville. They're probably moving on from Travis Etienne, who is more of like an outside zone runner. So I think we'll see if they make any additions at running back as well. But I think they want to change that run game up a little bit. Offensive linemen, some tight ends. I think we'll see a lot of that this offseason.
No, yeah, I'm going to bring his name up again in another segment, but like Charlie Collar from the Ravens. He's an interesting blocking.
Is it Kohler?
It's Kohler. What did I say, Collar?
Yeah.
Kohler. Whatever. It's Thursday at the Combine.
Yeah,
but
brother.
He's 27. I can tell you he's 27 years old. I can tell you when he's drafted. I can tell you all that, but I can't say his name.
Also, if we're doing familiarity, by the way, Cade Otton's a free agent too.
Yes, he is.
He played in Tampa Bay. He's more of like an inline, like a true inline
Yeah.
tight end, which is funny because Brenton Strange has kind of become that guy
And
too. So
Strange is I really like Strange. And I think he slots in perfectly for how their receiving room is, or pass catchers, I should say.
Yeah.
He's been a better blocker. Like, he's improved.
Oh, yeah.
He's not great,
Yeah.
but he's like fine.
He's not a
negative.
zero,
Yeah. So last year they tried to invest in a lot of blocking tight ends. Like they brought in like Quentin Morris. They signed a couple other guys. So they've been trying to address this, but I think they're like, okay, let's get a real guy, as opposed to becoming like these half options basically. All right, what was your next one?
my next one, it's a team that I've been saying I'm like weirdly obsessed with, and I'm going to talk about way too much this offseason. That's the New Orleans Saints. I wanted to see them hit offense hard this offseason because we were talking about the Saints last night. Because again, I'm talking about the Saints quite too often. A lot of Saints.
And then who we run into?
Yeah, we run into some
two
folks with the Saints actually last night that we're having this conversation with. So, and it's just like they're a fun team right now because I think you can look at every skill position room and say like we can make some additions here. Running back, I think they can make a big addition there for sure. I think it's time to move on from the Alvin Kamara era, even if he's still on the roster this year. Him as like the clear-cut feature back. I think that's probably it's time to move on from there. He even said like halfway through the year, oh yeah, I could be retired drinking pina coladas. I'm like, if you're saying pina coladas midway through the season, I don't know about all that.
As he's also saying like, I want to be a Saint forever. And it's like, well. Wait, what?
I want to be a Saint forever because I really like living here.
Yeah,
and it's cool here.
It's cool, and I love the city.
Yeah, sure, no doubt. New Orleans is a great city. So, we like guys like Devin Neal on the roster, but I think they could add something to that room. Wide receiver for sure. I think they could make a top 10 pick at wide receiver with either Tate or Lemon, and either of those guys would fit the system. I think Lemon actually be really fun in a Kellen Moore offense because they give you so many free releases and get that stuff, and he'd be perfect with that. And then at tight end too, like they were another team that was very, very three receiver heavy last year, and even Juwan Johnson like essentially is a former wide receiver. So they're maybe not a big time pass catching addition at tight end because I do think Johnson's a nice player, but an inline guy to allow them to be more multiple. And I think the offensive line is you could probably make one addition at guard for sure, but otherwise it's a pretty underrated unit. I just want to see them do the opposite of what I think Washington, who I'm talking about later in the show, they need to correct some of these mistakes. They kind of just were like, hey, got the young quarterback. Let's run back the same group from last year, and it'll be all good. We'll add like Deebo Samuel to the mix. That was fine, but listen, you need to really hit this hard this year with your second-year quarterback, and you didn't have the success that Washington did in Jaden Daniels' rookie season, of course. But again, you built a solid foundation. You got a nice young quarterback there. Let's get him improving by improving the situation around him.
Nope, I like that, and I think their offensive line is actually in a decent spot. Like, they could like again, like you even said, you were talking about the skill positions. Like they could go anywhere, and and I go, yep, that makes sense. Like that truly makes sense. Whether it's because some people have had Jeremiah Love going there. I'm like, that's a little rich because I think they could address other spots. Yeah, and maybe it's just my Devin Neal fondness.
I get it though. If that ended up
like him,
yes, we know that. But like it's if they went running back, that high, it's a little bit rich. I agree.
That's why receiver just makes a lot of sense.
The receiver one makes just so much sense there because, like I said, either one of those two guys, Tate or Lemon, would really – maybe they like Tyson. I don't know. I'm a little lower on Tyson compared to those two guys, but I just think either of them would make a ton of sense. Like Olave was – again, this always happens with Kellen Moore. The guy gets the slot snaps go up, right? It was Devontae Smith in Philadelphia. It was Chris Olave last year. So if it's Tate, like just that more pure perimeter guy, I think that would make a lot of sense in this offense. That route tree that they want the X receiver running fits a guy like that. But him and Lemon working in context too, I think that also makes a lot of sense.
Have I told you my Tate comparison?
No.
Reggie Wayne.
Oh, wow. Dude, he gets like a crazy range of comparisons. Because some people say like George Pickens.
Oh.
And I think it's the ball skills and like the way he attacks it. But as a route runner, I think as a route runner, he's like more like
better.
Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
Oh, and and obviously George is awesome.
Great.
He's awesome now.
Yeah,
but coming into the league, he
ran 2 routes basically.
Exactly, and like he was not a good separator whatsoever as a rookie. That is something that's why I always bristle at the Pickens stuff where it's like, hey. He was always this guy. No, he was not always this guy. Year 3, year 4.
The flashes were there, but not what he's doing
not the
now.
consistency.
Yeah.
And obviously, consistency is never going to be his number one trait, but it's like 90% more consistent as opposed to like 50% consistent. So, that I think makes sense as to who the player he is now coming into the league, very different. But, like Reggie Wayne, and I say like as a route runner, he kind of reminds me of Calvin Ridley, 2 completely different players from George Pickens. But I think the point of that is that if he's like Reggie Wayne as a route runner and like George Pickens at the catch point,
it's pretty fun.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
He's built a lot like Wayne because Wayne had like longer arms, like kind of this slighter build, but like still fine, but like just a little slighter build, kind of that low mid 190 build. Like, and I think they're about the same height.
Do you like Tate better than you liked T-Mac last year?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still working that.
I was a sucker for T-Mac.
Yeah,
I was probably one of the highest guys on him. So that's a tough person to ask. Though, but like I like Tate a lot, but he's not a. Ted to me was T-Mac was a hard, what I call like a blue chip prospect, a hard first round grade. I would say Tate's like a light blue to me. I know this is splitting hairs, but to me this is how I tier it. So to me, it's not a guy that you take top 10 every draft. Like that's how I view T-Mac. Tate to me is a guy that like he could start the receiver run. He is my receiver one. Him and Boston. I like Boston a lot more than other people. But I think he starts the receiver run, and I think this is right when that range kind of starts. But I'd be more comfortable taking him at like 18. You know, not the team, but just like the range of the draft. So.
No, that's how I think about receiver too. The way I do my stacked rankings for reception perceptions, like a tier 1 prospect is you can take this guy top 10 in any NFL draft.
Yep.
Then like true like first round guys, which in certain drafts you can take those guys in the top 10. Yep. To me, last year was like, you could take T-Mac at 8 in that draft, and I think you could probably take both of these guys. To me, Lemon and Tate in the top 10 of this draft.
Yeah,
so
this draft's wide open. That's why, and there's a lot of receivers. I can't wait to talk about all 40 of them with you over the next couple months.
Pack a lunch, baby.
We're going to take our first break, and we're going to come back with a few more off-season things we just want to see here from the Combine. See you guys in a sec.
One school that's doing some work in there right now, very quietly, is the Florida Gators. At the time of us taping this, Florida is sitting there with a top 10 class. And you're like, JD, wait a second. Florida's got a top 10 class? Who have they added? And I think this portal class in general for John Summerall is a good reflection of just the overall vibe, attitude, persona of what you're going to get from John Summerall during his time in Gainesville.
So now I've been thinking about the Denver Nuggets here for a little bit. Jamal Murray's gonna have to carry a torch during this program. Like I know it's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air looking around, and no furniture around, but hey, he's gonna have to figure it out. What I will say that helps Denver is the return of this version of Aaron Gordon. And I very specifically mean this version of Aaron Gordon. And I know you might have a twinge of concern that he may do too much, but it was good early and they need it now.
Have you had a chance to kind of unpack all of it?
Yeah, I don't know that I have yet. I think it's just another reminder of how wild pro football can be. I've lived it so many times. I mean, I think going back a little over 2 years ago when I tore my Achilles to now, there's been a lot of curveballs and a lot of change. And I was told a long time ago in pro football, you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm reminded of that time and again.
How long do you feel like that window is with Lamar, though?
I think you can get 2 more years of Lamar as a locked-in top 5 guy. And then I think after that is when it's like, okay, maybe he ages to more being a top 12 guy, which is still good. Maybe more of a tier 2 guy in my brain. And then it kind of ages from there. Russ went from like a tier 2 guy that fell off to a tier 3, tier 4 guy. You're going to have that drop off at some point in your career.
We are back from the Combine, and we are going to talk about a few more offseason moves we want to see, whether it's free agency, whether it's a trade, whether it's a storyline we just want to see end, or a draft pick, which I'm going to talk about right now. We actually got some receiver-centric stuff. I feel like I stole some of your thunder on a couple of them. Nice. But this guy is the one I want to see. and this is a team that I think has a very interesting offseason because they had a really nice season. That's the New England Patriots. And I want them to draft freaking Denzel Boston.
Ooh, okay.
And it's not just because of the name association.
Many people are saying that he is the Diet Coke Mike Evans.
I've heard that through the grapevine, and I may have said that on about 3 or 4 other pods when I made sure that I said to attribute that. Matt Harmon said this, and he wants everyone to know it, that you compared.
I got to see, where is Denzel? I got to tell him he's the Diet Coke Mike Evans. I got to see him around here somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. I know, but he's a big ball-winning X. A guy that I'm going to be always higher on than most. I view him like pretty up there. I view him closer to Tate, and I think the consensus is more a guy in the 20s, a guy in the back half of the first round. And Boston to me, though, if you just even look how Drake Maye used Mac Hollins last year, Denzel Boston is a much more fluid route runner, but with similar size to Mac Hollins. But just he made that work, and I think Boston is several tiers better as a receiver. I also just like, he has some more fluidness, I think. He's not, like, great as a yak guy, but he's kind of gets those simple yak yards. Actually, I think that's where your Evans kind of comparison came from.
Yeah.
Evans just bigger and just more juiced up, but kind of the similar kind of play style. Return punts, which I'm going to bring up every time because it's so crazy to see a 6'4", 215-pound guy returning punts. I think the Patriots could go O-line, and there are some right tackle options and offensive line options. Blake Miller, Max Ihenisher, who I always bring up because I think I'm very high on him as well. I get that, but I just want to see this. I want to see Drake Maye playing with a real needle-moving receiver who I think Boston can be a 1. I think you would always need auxiliary help with him. But he can do the X stuff. He can win on the outside, and Maye is going to throw those throws. He throws 989 to Kayshon Boutte and has made that work. Denzel Boston has a little bit more to him as far as that skill set to work. And it's just, is he the fastest guy? No, but I do think that they have enough ways to like get over the top. I think Maye wants to work those intermediate areas, what I call the javelins, the 10 to 25-yard range, as opposed to just always launching go balls. And I think Boston's just kind of perfect at it. So this is a fantasy booking, as they say in wrestling, or fan fiction. It's a match I want to see, but it's not just because of the name, but just the play style with Drake Maye's play style and what they need on this offense.
You could tell I'm operating not at 100% efficiency because the first thing you said there, you're like, not just because of the name, I was like, what the hell does he mean? But Boston, New England, there we go.
Even Massachusetts.
I am absolutely crushing it today. No, but for Denzel,
don't worry, I couldn't even say the tight end who I'm going to tout later. It's like the easiest name ever. And I'm like, Kalir?
We're doing okay. But for Denzel Boston, and just I think to make 2 points about this. One, it might be a fantasy booking, but at the same time, I also think it's instructive as to how New England probably should approach the receiver position this offseason. Number one, I do think it's a priority, no question about it. But I do kind of like them addressing it in the draft more so than making one of the big-name trades or anything. Now, again, Brian Thomas Jr., maybe that's different because he's a younger guy. But, number one, I do think they got to look there. They don't have as much cap space as they did last year to just burn through it, okay? So they have plenty. It's fine. You can make a big addition. But I like, number one, getting a cheaper player. Plus, there's somebody to grow with Drake Maye. You probably have Diggs in the room this year. Obviously, we'll see. You'd imagine they'd want him back in the room. But I think, like, having two big-name veterans, that might be a little – politically not great. So you get like a younger guy that, Diggs, he's a pretty good like mentor in the room for these guys. I think that would be good to see. And then from a skill set perspective, I actually kind of like, obviously if we're talking about spectrum, there's a big gap between Mike Evans and Mac Hollins, but it's kind of along the same-ish arc to build archetype of players. And the thing that's cool about Mac Hollins is that when he makes like 2 sick plays a game, you're just like, well, why don't we throw to that guy more? It's like, well, because the other the other routes don't look so good, but he hasn't just been an X receiver for either of his last 2 teams. He's been more like
Z, right?
Been more Z, like he been pretty close to the offensive line, a little more condensed because he helps out a lot in the run game. That's the other good thing. That's the other good thing that he's doing there. I think that Boston is of a similar archetype too, where you don't just have to put him at X, so you wouldn't have him necessarily taking Kayshon Boutte's job who's become that X. But I also think Boutte's a guy that I'd like to see him more
as a Z. I would like him as a move guy too.
I think that would make him more consistent
because he's just Boutte's just plays down just his skills, or I should say his traits, like how he moves is almost better.
He's not the twitchiest guy at all. He's very
kind of let him get some ramp up.
Exactly, which is why I think he works on those go balls. Plus, him and Maye just have so much trust with each other.
I know their chemistry is really good.
So interesting, especially when he goes against Derek Stingley for whatever reason. But no, I think that Boston would be a good complement in that way in particular.
And if you're bullish on Kyle Williams too, like actually Boston, Kyle Williams and Boutte actually have a nice little kind of synergy with all their skill sets because Williams is more going to be a go ball guy, deep ball guy.
And Williams, though, it's funny, like he just almost only lined up outside on the line too,
and ran it felt like he only ran like 3 routes too.
Yeah. Oh, and I think he was pretty interesting on those plays for sure. I think there's something to him. And Vrabel was talking here the other day about how excited they are about him in year 2, which is nice to hear because obviously from a production standpoint, you didn't get a ton out of him. But definitely he's another guy. Like all of their receivers, I think, could be really unlocked by getting like a true X in the room here.
I think everyone slots into the right spot. I know that's why I really want to see this. And just like there are a lot of talented receivers. There's similar archetypes to Boston. There's some other big ball winners, but not truly to me in this draft class. As a Brazel from Tennessee, I'm not taking that high.
Yeah,
that's he's freaky and long and everything, but it's just a Tennessee receiver.
Not the Looney Tunes offense.
Like Boston, to me, feels like he can be a nice contributor early. Like there's enough polish to his game that it's like, okay, this guy is productive early. As opposed to Kyle Williams, of course, went in the 3rd round, but like you kind of knew he would need some ramp up into his NFL.
The lower levels,
yeah, and that offense was just kind of did a lot of screen kind of stuff and a lot of go ball, so he needed more. But like I think there's a lot of polish to Boston that you can kind of hit the ground running. So I just think his skill set really matches like the receiver room and Maye. Even if they go offensive line, I do not blame them. Like I totally get it. But this is just one where it's like I think this kind of pairing matches and exactly where Boston should go. I think consensus-wise, I think he should go higher. But I'm not the NFL. So, yeah. But anyways, let's get to your next one because you're talking about maybe those receiver trades. They shouldn't go down that aisle. But who are those receiver trades that I feel like we talk about every week?
Yeah, I know. And here's the thing. Like, if this is what I want to see happen, I want to see those trades being made. I want to see an A.J. Brown trade. I want to see a DJ. We will see a DJ Moore trade. I would bet a lot we will see more traded. They keep talking about it as like,
every door's open.
Every door's open. Yeah, that's another one. Like every month, it's like TJ Moore trade. We've been doing it since like November, I think. So that one for sure. But frankly, like all these ones that are receiver rumors, the trade stuff like Michael Pitman, with Brian Thomas Jr. Let's swap them all around. Let's go.
I did see some Colts reporter. God, I wish I could attribute to him, but he did say that they're trying to bring Pitman back too, and I was just like, interesting.
Well, I actually think it's an interesting conversation, and I'm still thinking about it. I do think for the Colts because they have Tyler Warren and Josh Downs to kind of replicate some of the Pittman stuff. That for that team, I kind of understand if this happens, choosing Pierce over Pittman.
Yes,
but I kind of think in a vacuum, I might prefer Pittman as a player over Pierce,
just because he does a little bit more of everything.
Well, he does, and he's more reliable. Yeah. Like he's going to give you more singles and doubles for sure. I mean, you and I are longtime Pierce fans.
Yes. Yep.
Held that stock, maybe sold it low, and wanted to buy it back. I mean, I quite literally did that on one of my dynasty teams. So, like, yeah, it is.
I did that with Tucker Kraft.
Yeah,
I had injury stuff, and I like gave him away like way too cheap, and then I was like a year later,
I gotta get him
I'm
back,
trading Sam Darnold for him. I was like, no, I want him back. I want him back on my team.
Yeah. No. So again, literally, this is actually something I've done. But I'm a fan of Pierce. But if he starts to get into that like $28-30 million range, that's tough for a player who obviously has strengths, but is still a limited player in a way, and is not going to be unlocked by every single offense. Like I think 32 NFL teams could use a Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
32 NFL teams probably want an Alec Pierce, but do 32 NFL teams know how to get the most out of an Alec Pierce type? I think that's a little tough. But I say that to say that I think Pittman, I would get why they would struggle to move on from him, why it's more of like an idea that we would talk about. Not to mention, having said this, but like he's an awesome guy,
Great guy.
And a huge culture guy for them, a glue guy.
They got
the
a
whole
lot
deal.
of good guys on that team.
Totally,
they really do.
Totally. I think it's why they're like an easy team. They're very likable.
Yeah,
but
they sucker me in all the time.
100%.
And then that's the one time I really regretted it.
No,
for a while.
It was
for a while.
It was fine in the end. But yeah, just for that Colts example in particular, I do think Pittman might be a tough guy to move on from. But yeah, like all these guys, I'd actually kind of like to see them change teams, especially for Brown and DJ Moore, the first two ones there. I think they need a fresh start. The team needs kind of a fresh start with them, and I think they could benefit other teams as well.
Yeah, I'm so curious where Pierce ends up. I think he does go back, but I do like if he did get to test the waters and whatnot, where he ends up, because his price tag is like, it's one of those things. I love him. Like I've always been high on Pierce, but also I'm like, how much are you guys thinking about talking? And I know that free agency, this is how it works. This is how markets work. Yeah. Markets do not make sense, but I mean, or they do make sense. But I'm saying like their overpays happen. That's how these markets work. It's free agency. But it's like for him, I'm like, okay, but I feel like if he gets too much, the team he goes on,
the
like,
fan base is going to hate him. I'm so glad you said that, because I said the exact same thing to James Coe the other day. I was like, I could, and again, I say this as a Pierce fan, like an appreciator of what he is and everything. But yeah, if you don't know Alec Pierce, like, as a new team, whatever. Again, I always come back to the Titans because they just have so much money. I just think Titans fans are going to be like, we paid $30+ million.
I'd rather them sign Dobbs than Pierce. Like, that's how. Yeah.
So but all these trades, I think, will just make the offseason more interesting.
Oh yeah.
Some of them we can lock it in, like Ayuk gone, DJ Moore gone, but even like an AJ Brown. I know the financials of it are going to be really difficult, but it just feels like, as they're clearly transitioning to a new offensive identity, I'd like to see Devontae Smith kind of unlocked as the number one option there.
I'd like to see that too. I'm a big fan of Devontae. I think he's kind of perpetually underrated nationally.
Yeah.
I think everyone realizes he's good, but I think he's like a guy that actually could be a one, like a true one.
Totally.
Yeah, and I know we're both
especially in this system too. And I think you and I talked about this at the Super Bowl, where it was that Giants game, or it was the Vikings game and the Giants game, like back to back, where they were actually running some under center play action, and especially that Giants game when AJ was out before the bye.
Yeah,
Devontae was just like, dig route, under center play action. It's like, okay, now we just need that was great. We did it one game. We need to do it 17 games, and we need to do it more than like 5 times a game.
Yes,
you know?
Exactly. Could we do it every first down or
every
as
really
opposed to just one,
up.
and then we're like, yay, we checked the box. All right, we're gonna. Our next one for me, I just mentioned him, Romeo Doubs, and I want the Raiders to sign him. That was a team pairing, actually, kind of, because I think Doubs is one of these guys that get paid more than people realize. I really like him. I think he could be just a real good 2. Like, that's how I kind of feel him. Like, not a 1, but he might get paid like that.
Yeah.
That's, again, how markets work. But for the Raiders especially, like, again, I think that's another team we're kind of talking ourselves into a little bit.
Totally.
I'm liking what they're doing, but I also just want to see them kind of stick the landing of it.
Yeah.
But, like, the idea of what they –
the theory's good.
Yes, the idea of what they could do this offseason is really, really nice to see, or really fun to talk about. But with their pass catchers, because that you can't say just receivers, because Brock Bowers is their one. Like, that's going to be their number 1 option. But then they got, again, Trey Tucker's the guy I always bring up, but that's the speed guy. That's the speed element. Dobbs, that's his one thing he's not, like, I would say a plus guy at. Is like his speed's just okay. But he's got good ball skills. He complements those guys, those pass catchers. Jack Besh as well, he complements that. They don't have as much, like, overlap. No. They actually kind of unlock each other.
Yeah.
Where Dobbs can be the outside guy, Trey Tucker can be the speed outside guy, Besh can kind of be the power slot, move Z, whatever you want to call it, with Bowers there too. And then, of course, Ashton Genty, and we'll see how the offensive line goes. But, like, they have space, and this is one that actually makes more sense than I at first blush, because it's like, man, Raiders need a lot. They shouldn't just be splashy free agents. But it's like this one actually makes a lot more sense as I marinate on it. And even like a team like the Titans, like those kind of lesser teams, I actually think Dobbs is a good answer for them, because he can be just kind of a nice steady Eddie for whoever the quarterback is, the young quarterback is.
Yeah, I think that room would make a lot of sense, and just nothing made sense with the Raiders last year. And it's actually funny. I think we don't do this enough at a week like this, but and it was like look back at things, and because now people will talk about it, right? Like, people will be lying to you in the year that it happens, and I guess I've just had.
And afterwards, they act like it's so obvious.
Oh,
it's like, everybody knew they were fighting.
Right. But it's just funny, and I think because their like approach to Dante Thornton and Jack Besh just like pissed me off so much last year that I'm still wanting. I want answers for that, and I've talked to people this week, and they've been like, oh yeah, well, the offensive coordinator didn't want this guy, but then the coaching staff wanted this guy, but the front office and it was just like, it's a proof of concept of like, yeah, there's way too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah. Now I think the idea here is that everyone will be on the same page, will be going in the same current here, and I think a guy like Dobbs is kind of what they need. Like, they do need an X receiver, because maybe Thornton can be that guy in time, but to the fact that they just pushed that guy into the deep end as a 4th-round pick out of the Looney Tunes Tennessee offense was truly insane, and it was only because, well, he's our biggest and fastest guy. And like, but Jack Best shouldn't be an X. Obviously Trey Tucker shouldn't be an X. They do need that guy, but they also, to your point, don't need somebody to be an 8 to 10 target guy a game, and Dobbs is not that. He's a good player. He's kind of dig route merchant complimentary, is how I've been referring to Romeo Dobbs. I mean, and that's obviously critical in this offense, but you need to find ways to get Brock Bowers the ball 8 to 10 times a game. So getting an X receiver like this, that would certainly help.
Yeah, again, it's just kind of like their usage makes sense. Just in my brain, it was like one of these where I was trying to find some of these things to talk about, and Dobbs is just so interested in me because he's a guy I was always just kind of like fine with, like whatever, and we've talked about endlessly this year, but I'm just like, he's kind of good, man. Like,
yeah,
I was like,
he's not a sacrificial.
Yeah,
X
yeah.
anymore. He started as actually the guy that made me think of the term sacrificial X first, but now he's become a lot more.
And at Nevada, he ran like 2 routes from one side. Like, it's just, and that's again why he's got a unique personality, as I put it, which is kind of fun actually to see kind of his growth as a person with the Packers.
Yeah, sure.
And I think like he's kind of clicked for him as a hard worker and stuff. So it's a guy that you're willing to pay. That's another thing with free agency. You also have to. Who am I about to spend a lot of money on? Are you going to be a hard worker now, or is you get paid and you're just done? So he just makes a lot more sense than maybe I thought. I'm very curious where he kind of ends up. That's why we're going to be talking about a lot of free agency in the next couple of weeks. But we are going to take our next break, and then we'll wrap it up with a few more offseason things we want to see. See you guys in just a minute.
Penn State has imported Iowa State. It's the best way I could explain it. Penn State has now taken Rocco Beck. They took RB1. They took wide receiver 1. They took 3 offensive linemen. I detest that this is how college football works at the moment, but it's the way it works at the moment. And that is when you take a head coach, part of the thinking behind hiring the head coach is who he can bring with him. And in Matt Campbell's case, it was basically whoever he wants.
I'm very fascinated to see which direction they go here, because I think that Roman, this is the deal with him. He's not terrible. He's not offensive as an offensive coordinator, but he can get you to a certain point. You need somebody else to get you to the next point. I think he's done a good job with Herbert, getting him to run more and getting him to push the ball down the field. Now I'd like to see, someone kind of just, again, give him some more quicker options. That's the type of stuff I'd like to see from the next coach.
Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gahn, that needs to be resolved, right? Hamzat Shemaiah versus Sean Strickland. But I will accept Hamzat Shemaiah versus Fluffy Hernandez. If Fluffy beats Sean Strickland, I'll take either of those. Here's another one of my, but you accept these as secondary.
100%.
Armin Sarukian versus UFC lightweight champion. We cannot just keep having Armin doing grappling matches and eating and all this stuff. He
I'm
must
kind of okay
fight
with
for
it.
No, I'm not.
No,
I know you love it.
You get the first pick in the underrated player draft. Who you taking?
Jalen Duren has never made an All-Star game. He's never made an All-NBA team. He's gotten so much better as a scorer this year. Jalen Duren is like a legit All-Star this year. And so because everybody talks about the Detroit situation like it's trash and Cade Cunningham, I'm going to say he's still a little bit underrated, and he's my number 1 pick.
We are back from the Combine, and we're going to get into our last couple off-season things we want to see. Mine is the Chiefs, and a two-parter. Kind of addressed one earlier this week, but I want to continue that discussion, which is a speedy running back. I talked about ETN maybe being a better fit for them than other teams as I marinated on it. I know they also have interest in Kenneth Walker as well. So same archetype of running back. Talking about archetypes. Explosive, iffy vision, pass protection, iffy. But
probably more of a zone guy than anything else.
And that's what all the Chiefs run is zone. I mean, Andy Reid, all he does is zone. He doesn't like pulling guys as much as other teams. He doesn't run duo as much as other teams. It's kind of annoying if you're asking me.
I know. Just like it's just so weird how I've just become so irritated with the Chiefs. But
it's like, and anytime they change it up, like for a while they were running GT counter with the guard and tackle, and it was like, nice.
Yeah.
And then they just got away from it.
Yeah.
So maybe Bieniemy comes back and that helped juice that up, but I don't know. But a speedy running back, because I do think the O-line is going to be a plus O-line, like a locked-in top 10 O-line, if not better. And I think the other part of that, and this is actually a kind of continuation of what the Jags discussion was, I think a blocking tight end. I had Charlie Collar. Now I can't. Now I'm not. I'm always going to mess up his name.
Kolar. Charlie Kolar.
Okay, thank you. I like
the most he's ever been talked about.
I like him.
I
know. And I like him. That's what sucks. I actually can't think of their name, or I can't say their name properly. But he is a inline guy, but some type of player of that archetype again, the blocking wide tight end. Travis Kelce is just not that player. He's never been that guy. Noah Gray fights his butt off, but he is not. He just can't. Noah Gray should be your third tight end move guy that can be a fullback sometimes, kind of just do a little bit of everything. And I thought this offense, because they run the same stuff, and just really the Chiefs are just fascinating to me, because it's just like, all right, you guys kind of brought everybody back. All right, where's the splashes coming from? Where's the needle moving going to happen? And to me, these little things, these little touches can really boost up everything in their offense. But ever since they moved on from, not just because of age, but like Blake Bell type, They had a guy that can actually block in line and let Travis Kelce move around. And Noah Gray will fight again, but he's just he's not Blake Bell in that sense.
Blake Bell, throwback name.
I know. So the Belldozer, Oklahoma's finest. I do think though that's how they can kind of just, I wouldn't say unlock the offense, but just boost it without making like a huge grandiose move. It's just getting kind of a gritty wide tight end draft or free agency.
There's so many things like that for Kansas City, and my fear is that like none of this is going to happen. And I think that's but yeah, getting a true wide tight end, getting a true X receiver, getting like a running back in the mix here.
Getting another pass rusher.
Yeah, right. I mean, and yeah, defensively too. There's a whole other conversation on that side of the ball as well. Trent McDuffie trade rumors, the whole deal.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Big fan of McDuffie, by the way. I actually heard the other day, I forgot his name.
Yeah.
But I was talking about like elite corners, and I didn't bring his name up, and it wasn't on this show or anything. But Trent McDuffie is still
all that matters
what
what happens
on
this show.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like the WWE. It's only
here,
only in these matches, and this is the only universe that matters. But anyways,
I mean, again, just offensively, there's so many little. An X receiver is like hard to find, but I mean, at the same time, it's just so many things like that they can add to this offense that would really unlock it, make it feel less static. Like I talked about that on the coaching show with you, the static score that I put out when they were in the bottom 5, and just so much shotgun, so much spread stuff. Although they've done some good like heavy personnel stuff in the past, and it's just kind of gotten away from it because they have all these receivers that you need to roll cater to, and I just like enough of that already.
Yes.
Like let's get some real deal receivers, and from a tight end perspective too, you do have to roll cater to Travis Kelce as well. Is this like that? That's like you guys are making it harder on yourself.
Yes,
that's
you're talking. That's what I was thinking of too. It's like Xavier Worthy has to be off the ball and on the move.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce has to be off the ball and on the move.
Rashee
Rice has to be off the ball and on the move. When everybody needs that same thing, there's only one guy that can be the movement guy. This is why I was worried about Worthy when he first got dropped in here.
Dude, I'm so glad you brought this up about Worthy. And if I was a better podcaster, I'd have sent the producers the tweet. But like somebody put out like a picture of him running the 40-yard dash like this time last year, and I just looking at him like his arms are just so tiny in that picture. I was like, his shoulder looks like it's about to pop out because he's so small. And it's just like, you can't play that.
He got hurt tripping this year.
He got hurt because him and Travis ran into each other on mesh, and like. Oh my!
He was out for a while.
He was out for a while. Yeah, because Travis Kelce weighs like 100 more pounds than him.
Yeah.
This isn't the exact picture, but like, he's so tiny. And again, that guy has to run outside all the time.
Yep.
He has to run outside all the time because you're roll catering to Rashee Rice because he has to play in the slot. He's a fake receiver. He doesn't run real routes. He's the Mickey Mouse route tree guy. So it's just like this whole thing is it's making my brain hurt talking about it. Like Andy. Make your life easier, dog. Like, make some of these additions. I think this team would feel so much better.
And I've had multiple, like, kind of rants this year, but, like, when we did talk about the Chiefs about a month ago, it was really startling when you started looking at the next-gen stats, the speed, all the player weights. They're, like, 15 pounds lighter by average in the receiver and tight end room than they were in the 2019 run.
That's the picture.
Yeah.
His shoulder, dude, look, his right shoulder looks like it's going to pop out.
It really does.
That's crazy.
And that's the thing, too, is, like, I know I kind of always talk about size, but it does matter for these guys because it's just physics. It's just mass and velocity. I mean, it's physics. So that's what they need to get bigger, but not slower bigger. They need athletes. They need big athletes at the skill spots every single one, tight end, receiver, and running back. And it's like you got to address it. Have to.
And I just say it too, by the way, because I've just like called him tiny 100 times, Xavier Worthy. Like, I think there's actually a lot more to get out of him as a player.
He improved.
And you just wouldn't know it by the stats at all. And obviously, tough year injury wise and everything. But there's more to get out of a player like that. Yep. You just can't roll cater to everybody. Correct. You can't really roll cater to 3 receivers. Yep. You got to get somebody that can just like line up and win.
Go. Yeah.
And this is not revisionist history. I said this exact phrase to you when they lost the Super Bowl to the Eagles, and they just didn't do it.
Yeah.
No, what are you going to do? So, and Rice too. Like, that's just not a guy you can count on at this point. We all know the situation there. So, I think you all like whether you move on. It's like mentally move on because that's not a guy you're giving a second contract to based on how things have gone.
No, for a lot of reasons now. All right, your next one.
Yeah,
I know.
Talk about
Chiefs. What do you got?
Yeah,
it's your Washington.
Yes, my Commanders one. Because you said this earlier, like Saints probably shouldn't take a top 10 running back. Chiefs probably shouldn't take a top 10 running back.
Where are you going here?
But I think the Washington Commanders should trade down So I'm just doing this to be responsible before I do fan fiction. They should trade down and then take Jeremiah Love as the explosive running back.
Yeah, that would get the clicks right there.
Well, we have Mock Draft Monday.
We do.
Our
Oh yeah, there we go.
pod. We're taping it tomorrow.
Yes, we are.
I should have saved this one because I have to make picks for this. Embarrassing. Sorry, Colin. I'm terrible at this job. Anyways, the thing I would think it would be good, though, get Love in this backfield, get an explosive element. I'm really intrigued by this Commanders team. It's another one of the teams like the Raiders and the Cardinals that I was just I was out on last year. But this year I'm thinking of buying back in. And for Washington in particular, I talked about this with you on the Coaches Show and the Fantasy Forecast, the David Blau idea, and it is an idea, it's just my theory, but if he brings in some more of those true under center looks here, I think it's going to benefit both the run and the pass game. And I just wouldn't take that as the only thing you're doing here. I also think you need to make personnel additions. You need to be more explosive, and just the idea of him and Jaden Daniels, Jeremiah Love, Jaden Daniels in the same backfield, pretty freaking
very
sweet.
Fast.
Yeah, very fast, really tough to deal with.
Yep.
I think that helps you get an explosive element and unlocks the play action game, which play action stuff under Cliff is just
it's flat because it's all the gun, so it's all flash fake stuff. Yeah,
exactly. This would be, and we'll see. Obviously, Jaden has to do it. It. That's a whole other thing. I think they probably make a receiver addition as well. But yeah, Jeremiah Love again in a trade down, a responsible trade down. Add some more picks for a team that needs some cheaper players on the roster. There we go.
Their draft capital every time I open it, I gasp
every time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
what
happened? That's right. You did that, and you did that. Yeah, because you made a push. Because you
Laramie Tunsil trade.
You didn't learn the lessons of the Texans doing it the year before.
I know.
And now you guys are going to do it. That's fun. I've been talking a lot actually about Jeremiah Love's kind of landing spot because he's such an interesting player. I think everybody's in unison now that yes, he's a running back, but he's a top 10 player in this draft, or even higher in some cases. So I do think, though, his landing spot is that it starts maybe at the Chiefs, but then you look at all these teams and rosters, and they're like, doesn't need a running back, 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 doesn't need. And then all of a sudden it gets into those teams in the 20s. I went on Hogan Johns this week, the Bears pod, and I said, the Bears actually might be more of a valid team taking them. It depends on what Swift. Of course, they're like, clip.
Yeah.
Bears might get Jeremiah Love.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, love you guys. I knew that was going to happen. But I was just kind of just as I've done more mocks, as I kind of starting to look where these kind of tier breaks are, which we'll know more after this week, too, as kind of more of a consensus builds, that his landing spot gets way more wide open than I assumed.
Totally.
But the Commanders is an interesting one, just lean into it, because the defense needs a lot. And I don't know where the ideas are coming from, but they need D linemen. They need linebackers. They need healthy corners.
They kind of need a lot.
They need the whole defense. But
yeah.
So what we kind of always say this now when these teams have just not a real defense. Okay, just go all in on offense.
Exactly.
First to 50 wins. It's it could be fun.
And I think the offense could be close because I think the line, Connerly taking a step in year 2. Obviously, Laramie Tunsil was good last year. I think the line is in a pretty solid spot.
Because I think they re-signed Wiley too. I could be wrong, but yeah, I think they re-signed a guy as well. Yeah.
Yeah, they're in a solid spot there. They just definitely need more dynamism. I don't like that we got a report about Zach Ertz is probably going to be ready for week 1. Listen.
Great career.
Yeah. But come on. So yeah, I just think they need more young, explosive players on offense. No question. More field tilters. That's what they need. Yeah. They don't have any. They don't have any of those guys. And the way they use Terry McLaurin in the old offense, which I don't think will happen this year, it's hard for him to be a consistent element because it's the straight line route tree one side of the field. He's easy to scheme out and take out against. You see that when he goes against the Eagles, right? It's all right. We'll put Quinion Mitchell on this side and we'll shade a safety over there. And it's just you're never going to throw to him. You're never going to throw to that guy. So I think that would really unlock this entire operation. But yeah, an explosive running back with Jaden Daniels would be really fun. I think I
hope
got
me thinking of Kenyon Sadiq. And I'm just
I hope this isn't a February team that I like, and then we see the moves, and I'm just that's kind of.
I have to see how they address the defense before I like.
Oh yeah, totally.
That's it for me because I'm with you. I think the offense could be. Again, Jaden had some understanding experience at Arizona State. It's not like he's just only air raid guy. It's he's done it and he's athletic enough to do it. It's just him getting comfortable, turning his back because when he scrambles to run. He doesn't scramble ever to throw. That's how he was college and the pros. That has to change.
Yeah,
he can't take as many hits as he's been taking. It's just it's physics. But I think this offense can kind of insulate himself from having that tendency. He just has to get comfortable with it. But like you said, it's I think that just unlocks more real good football. football you win with, like because you're out scheming stuff, because it's just good, solid concepts. So I am interested in the offense. The defense is just more like,
well, they could be. Our colleague, our buddy Scott Pianowski always has the Carnival team in fantasy. They could very much be the 2026 Carnival team if they do exactly this. They go all in on offense. They kind of ignore the defense. Just one more team to think about running back wise, and I just got to say it because I've said it seemingly 100 times this week. Minnesota is a running back team.
Yeah, because they're going to probably move on from Aaron Jones. Yeah,
they're going to move on from Aaron Jones, and they're like picking 18th.
Yep.
So that could be if you're doing mock drafts and you're doing the experiment where Jeremiah Love falls out of the top 10, because I agree with you. There's just way more. There's not as many open seats as you think, and we have a pretty good free agent running back class, so the seats are going to get filled even then. If you're doing the mock draft, you're doing the experiment of what happens if he falls out of the top 10, Minnesota to 18, that could be a team to look for there.
And there's still lack of consensus of who running back 2 is, and I think that's just still up in the air. It might be Prince, also from Notre Dame, but there's other guys that are still battling for that. But they're all not just by me, but just, again, this is why sometimes I have to talk out both sides of my mouth. It's like I might view something, but how the general league, I think, views these guys as all as round 3. Like whoever running back 2, running back 3, running back 4 are not, like Hampton last year. Where it's like, running back 2 is really good too. And actually, there's Judkins too, and he's really good too. And there's Henderson too, and he's pretty good too. And it's like there's so much depth in the – I mean, Scadaboo was fourth rounder, and I think in this draft class he's running back 2, running back 3 at worst. He was 7, 8, 9 last year. I mean, there's so much – Tootin. All these guys that went Kalmanangai, round 7. Devin Neal, I have to address him, but guy after guy. I mean, we talked Woody Marks. So many guys were contributing, but that was such a deep class, and this year it kind of feels like back to kind of some classes of a few years ago. So I'm very curious how it kind of just shakes out and who addresses it, but I like that one. But we have a couple more minutes, so we'll just get into, I had a personal hope, and this is, I don't want to spoil free agency pods too much. That's why I've been trying to, not. Yeah. But I can't help myself because I also want to talk about it. It's fun. I know. I know. I had someone say to me the other day, they go, yeah, Nate was quiet, and then we started talking about the Bears line, and all of a sudden he just couldn't shut up. Someone showed me a group text where they said that. You get a couple subjects for me. I get very excited about it. You got board games too. We got Twister. We talked about that the other day.
We see eye to eye on so many things, especially football wise. We do. I think view the game pretty. We view the game pretty similarly, but I could not be farther away from you from movies, wrestling, and board games. So it's good that we're friends.
Yeah, I know. It's like, just let me be me.
I'm good at that.
There's a big angry nerd just right in here. This right here. This is a big angry nerd. I just hide it.
So speaking of which.
Yeah, speaking of which. Okay, well, wrap up. This is defensive free agents I did want to see. Joseph Ossai, I think, is not getting the kind of love that he got because I thought he really improved for the Bengals last year. I know the Bengals defense was terrible, but they actually improved in the second half of the year. But he's a guy that I'm like, I feel like he should have more market because he's young. He's done enough where there's some flashes there. He's got traits. Leo Chanel from the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Very particular player, but say he goes to the Bills with Jim Leonard.
Yeah.
That I really like the fit.
Walk him up to the line of scrimmage.
And do some funky stuff. And actually, I think he coached him before at Wisconsin, so it actually makes sense. Cam Curl from the Rams, just a real smart safety, and I think he could be one of those Jordan Reed was for – Justin Reed, sorry, Jordan. Justin Reed was for the Chiefs after he got signed. I think it was from Texans at the time. But just shored up everything. He just was solidified. And I think Curl could do that for a defense that needs top-end help. And then Boye Mafe from the Seahawks. I think he's got a lot of juice. And even though we're talking about the run a lot, getting after the quarterback is what gets you paid. Totally. I think he has that. So we're going to be wrapping it up today from the Combine, wrapping up our shows this week from the Combine to Indianapolis. Thank you to Matt this whole week joining me. Hope Charles is okay in the snowstorm.
Has he gotten the bobsled out yet? That's the question.
He quote tweeted. He was like, "I'm doing all right." After one of our shows, but that's it for us on the Yahoo Sports Network as well. If you're watching on YouTube, we're going to be wrapping up as well. We're wrapping up this pod. Thank you to everyone helping this week. Adi, Colin, Madison. Great seeing these guys as always. Probably next time I see you guys is draft.
Yeah,
which will be fun. Yeah, we got draft show. Don't you guys worry. And also thanks to Stone back home. Missed you, bud. What the heck? But no, great. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for your help. Thank you guys for joining us live here on Football 301. Make sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or watch us on YouTube on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. Like and subscribe there. Yeah. Watch us live there. But thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time.